is a scary place.
What is the internet? What does it mean?
It's where all the bits come together and intermingle. Let's check audio.
What is the internet? What does it mean?
I hear you.
That was me. Yeah.
That was you again. Good. All right. It does appear that we are on the internet. Al Gibson is here waiting for the sweet sounds of
Sweet.
of Diskin to play us in, which was a really good reminder for me that I need to load that up. So thank you for that.
It's also a reminder that the things you say, people hear it.
Yeah.
I'm coming at you from the heart of Music Row, right in the middle of it.
Dead center. All right, are you ready to do this?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. It's a podcast all about aviation and midlife and all things so related. And my name is Chris Moran. I am the Midlife Pilot, the OG, as it were. And joined, as always, tonight, Thanksgiving Eve, by my steady co host companion, direct from the heart of Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Brian Siskind. Good evening and happy Thanksgiving Eve to you, sir.
Hey, man, it's good to be here. I'm glad to see that the chat is filling up, and we have some. I have some whiskey here tonight, so you can see where this is all going. But no, but I'm super happy to be here, and I'm nice. I'm glad that we're back on our schedule. This is good.
Yep, it does feel good to get back to a normal sequence. And so tonight we thought it might be fun to just have a kind of a topical evening recording of the podcast of things related to aviation or not, life things that we're just thankful for, and the part that kind of aviation has played in that. So for sure, if you're with us tonight live in the chat, go ahead and leave your comments in there like you always do, and we'll read as many of them as we can. Things, message of thanks, and we have some queued up, some audio messages that were sent in by some folks to get to later on in the show as well.
Yeah, and I was hoping maybe we can also. We didn't really talk about this too much, so forgive me for bringing it up right in the middle of the beginning of the podcast. But I would love to also highlight some of the awesome comments or reviews we've gotten on Apple Podcasts, because I don't know how the algorithm works, man, but I think we're doing really well there, and I think that part of the reason why is because we have so many great, thoughtful reviews there, and it's part of what we're going to be thankful for is everybody that's listening and has been supporting what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. Well, I'll kick us off. I have a couple of current topical things related to aviation that I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for an oil analysis that came back today that made me realize that actually my Cherokee's engine is not chewing itself up and about to die. So that was an encouraging follow-up to a saga, which I'll tell the story as we get more details, like in a later episode. But the short story is, this engine has 400 hours. It's a Pinyan overhaul, and we got an oil analysis that scared the pants off of us. And so we did this like crazy change sample. We ran in and grabbed a sample. Some of the guys in the club did, because I'm actually coming to you live from Huntsville, Alabama tonight, just a couple hours south of Music Row, where where Brian is seated currently. And we overnighted Blackstone a sample last night. They got it at 10 o'clock this morning, ran it for us today. Thanks to them for getting, rushing it in and getting it in the queue today. And it was an anomaly.
Wow. Fully just a wash.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's basically everything's in the normal range, everything now. So, it was one of those, like, we grounded the plane, like everybody had everybody was like, stop don't turn the engine again until we know what's going on. And it appears that everything's actually fine. So, yeah, that was
Wow.
exciting. But I'm
Wow.
thankful for that. That's great news.
This kind of when we were talking about some of this, I guess that was earlier today on the phone, or was that yesterday?
It was today.
It's today. Thank you for helping me understand which day it is. Um, but we were just joking about how, like, in aviation, it's all or nothing so often, right? Like, it's either absolutely innocuous, just sort of nothing to worry about, or it's the worst situation ever.
Exactly.
We're in the land of extremes.
Yep. For sure. For sure.
Man. So, oh, and thank you, Zach, for complimenting my latest video. I try to mix it up. I'm not trying to do a lot of essays all the time, right? Sometimes I just want to show some flying, So anyway, I did. If you, Chris, you were about to ask me, have I done any flying lately?
That was on my list. That was my next question.
So yes, as a matter of fact, I have, and I did film some of it. So yeah, I just did um, night flight for currency, which is always fun. Um, and I have some thoughts around that have been sort of on my mind. And then the next day, yesterday, I flew from here to I flew from Music Row to the heart of Music Row. Did you know that Reba McEntire's studio on Music Row, it's called Starstruck, that there's actually a helipad on the roof of it, and so they built it with all of that in mind, but then they were never allowed to use it because all the other studios around there, it's like
Oh.
helicopter coming in. So, a lot of ideas, not a lot of planning, I guess, is how that went.
Mhm.
But anyway, yesterday I flew to Sikeston, Missouri, a population 16,000. Um, it's basically due west of here. You go across the Mississippi River, and that's not much further. And went to a place called Lambert's, um, where they throw bread at you. So it's a restaurant you go to. It's sort of like a Cracker Barrel on steroids.
I see.
It's just this insanely like they walk around with just all this food and keep throwing it at you, and then they literally actually throw bread at you from across the room. So anyway, pretty great meal, pretty great time. And the cool thing about that place is that the owner is a pilot and has an airplane in a hangar at that little airport there. And so for years, what he has done is made it really pilot friendly. So when you get to the FBO, and keep in mind, this is a very small town, 16,000 people. The airport's not huge or anything, but you get there, the FBO, you walk in, they will call the restaurant. The restaurant will send a van immediately to come and pick you up, take you straight to the restaurant. This restaurant is usually packed with, an hour, 2 hour wait,
Hmm.
um, big line. But if you fly in, the van picks you up, they bring you in the back and you skip the whole line and they seat you immediately. So you get this kind of VIP treatment as a pilot to get in and get out of there. So, anyway, it was great. It was a great experience. And, I'm really enjoying flying the Archer, but,
Awesome.
yeah, so that's what I did lately. But, yeah, what about you? You've done a lot of driving.
Done a lot of driving. Yeah, I did. We drove to Huntsville. It's a 9-hour drive, and but before I left, a couple days before we left, so I guess it was probably Thursday last week. I also did my night currency flight.
Ah,
I went up to the airport to do it. Normally, when I do these, so I like to come out about like sunset. I like to
yep.
take off when there's still light. It's like a half hour after sunset, let it get dark, and then, knock my landings out right after the threshold of darkness, and then come back to Fairmont. But it's hard to do that these days when it's dark so early here on the East Coast. And so I got up there. It was already well past sunset, so it was dark, and I hadn't flown at night for probably 3 months, 4 months, five, I don't know, it was 5 months maybe. And I got up there and I had the 150 scheduled, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this. Decided not to, and then randomly, completely by chance, ran into another guy from the flying club who was up there, who I've flown with a lot, and he's like, well, he said, I could use a safety pilot to go shoot an instrument approach. Like, why don't we just jump in the Cherokee 235 and we'll just go knock all this out
Mm,
together? And I'm like, perfect. So we kind of went out and did some stuff, and he's a CFI as well. disclosure on that topic before anybody has a question about that. So we went out and did that, and of course it was no factor. Like they were great, and my landings were fine, and of course it would have been totally. I should have just taken the 150, but everything would have been fine, and that in that regard as well. But
Yeah.
had a really good time. It's a beautiful night, lots of lights to see, and so we
Yeah.
flew for about an hour a little over an hour, and got all of our stuff knocked out, and that was good.
So what was your hesitation about flying the 150? Was it anything about the plane itself?
No, in fact, it has brand new. We put a new we put a new beacon, an LED beacon in this thing that I think you can see from space. It is like it's shocking, and it's all LED lights. I mean, it's totally fine. I was just not for it was just not I don't know, I just didn't feel good about having not flown at night for so long. You know what
I
I mean?
see. Because I was just wondering, because one of the things I've been waiting for is the right night to fly the Archer, because I haven't flown it at night yet. And, it's like you just don't know what's gonna light what lighting is gonna actually work, or what it's gonna kinda look and feel like. So you kinda get prepared for the worst, or, essentially having nothing, and then, hope for the best. So for
I
me,
always
yeah.
I always overthink it. Like I even in that on that flight, I was like, like, am I going to be able to see right? I haven't flown the 235 at night. Like it's been forever, probably a year. And,
Yeah.
when I get in there and forget all about all those little other details, I'm like, this is just like flying. I mean, it's just like flying any other time.
Yeah.
I did have a hilarious, and I don't know that it was necessarily related to night flying, but on like my first full stop, actually, it was after that. We'd done all 3, and this was like a bonus landing, that we were doing later. So we did a touch and go for the 4th one because they didn't have to be to a full stop. Um, I landed and was complaining to Dave, who was with me, about my, being left of center line. I'm like 6 feet left. I'm like, "Oh, I'm disappointed in that one." I said, "You ready to go?" And I looked over and he said, "Yeah, I'm ready to go." And I went full power, and like, I'm like, "Man, this thing's like jumping off the runway." And I looked down, I'm like, "Yeah, I still have 20 degrees of flaps." And I'm like, 25 degrees of flaps. I'm like, "Well, that was exciting. That's the first time I've done that in the Cherokee, like left the
Yeah.
flaps in on a touch and go." I was like, "Woo, this is exciting." But uh, no, it was super fun. We had a really good time.
Man, so, yeah, so the only thing I noticed, it's weird idiosyncratic things about each plane, but for me, the thing that in the Archer that got me, that I'm glad I had my, sort of lights with me and everything, and I made sure they're out of my bag and, like, sort of right next to me, was I realized that because the trim is in between the seats, when I would do a full
Oh, good
stop and I
point.
would come back and I would wanna set the trim for takeoff to kind of level it out, I couldn't see it.
That's a great point.
And so I
So
had
I
to use a hand light to every time to get my trim right.
so I wore a headlamp for the first time ever, a red
Yeah.
headlamp that's
Yeah.
adjustable angle, right? So you can
Yeah.
tip it forward. I left it on the entire flight. It was amazing. I
Yeah.
told Dave, who was with me, I'm like, everywhere I look is illuminated. Like I can see everything. Like
Yeah.
it was very good.
This was the first time I have one of those, and this was the first time I thought, "I'm gonna see if I can get along." I wanted to see if this panel is lit up enough to where I can handle everything without a headlamp, and then, of course, I could, except for that one detail. But yeah, headlamp for life, especially, like, when you're, back and you're trying to secure the plane and everything, it's great to just be able to do that. Headlamps are the best.
Yep. That
But
was the
anyway, so
first
yeah,
one.
I had a great flight, and I really enjoyed the time. But it was one of those things where I wanted to get out early, like you're talking about, and do maybe a handful of landings, so that as it gets fully dark an hour after, then I'd be good. But what ended up happening, I got up to the airport, and it was like the most beautiful, incomprehensible weather, just so good, no wind, just warm, not freezing cold, and you know how busy it is there. There was nobody there. It was like a ghost town. It felt like something was wrong, but you just didn't know what it was, like, "Is this closed?" Or I've never seen it that desolate, especially under those conditions, and so I'm like, "God, this is gonna be great, man. This is just gonna be so great." And then I get in the plane, and I fire it up, and then I as soon as I say I'm calling the tower to do my run up, or calling ground to ask for a run up, the guy's like, expect a delay for your pattern work. And I thought, oh, okay, whatever. I've got to still go do a run up. I'm sure it'll get sorted out or whatever. Well, I guess he knew something that I didn't, because as soon as I started taxiing back to the runway to get in line, there was about, I don't know, I want to say either 8, 9, 10 arrivals that were all spaced out by, annoying amounts of miles. Just I sat there for probably almost 30 minutes
Oh, wow.
just sitting there. So in a weird way, it was kinda nice because I was like, "Well, at least I'm not, like, I'm mitigating some of my recreational gas burning here." But man, it took forever to get out. So then I only had one to do that was left before time, and then it was so cool because the second one I was coming around and I was on downwind looking at the clock, and I was like, if I can just slow down a little bit, this one will count. And so yeah, but I really love flying at night. I wish that I didn't love it so much. I'm actually inclined to want. I really kind of want to do it more, and I actually want to like plan out some specific. I've done a little bit of a cross country, 50-mile kind of thing at night, but that's it. But I want to do more. It's a temptation that it's like if there's no reason to do it, you shouldn't really do it. But at the same time, it's such an entrancing, amazing experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was having that same realization when we were flying the other night is how much I enjoy it, but how much I don't enjoy the added risk of not being able to tell what the black space below me is if I have to land there. Like that's a little unnerving.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you follow highways and hope for the best, but yeah, I mean, it's a risk. But anyway, yeah, so it's nice to get some flying in. While it's yeah, I haven't really been enjoying the cold very much, so it's nice we had a little spell of good, reasonable temperatures and some good flying. So, but yeah, I mean, coming up this time of year, right? We're sitting here thinking about what we're grateful for. I've got a few things that I wrote down that I thought about, and then we've got some things that people have sent in, so we can get to those. And obviously, anybody that's listening to this after the fact, feel free to comment or send us something, and well, it's not just limited to this. We're happy to take any submissions from anybody about anything really.
That's
So
right.
it's all very cool. But so what do you have a short list?
Yeah, but yours, you already you indicated that you did, or we could play. We have a handful of audio submissions that we could, kind of mix these in too if we wanted to get
Yeah,
one of
let's
those
let's
in
let's
first. You
get
want to hear?
into that because really, I mean, honestly, what we're most grateful for is all these people that have been able to join us, and
That's right. I think
so
that is
let's.
the collective, isn't it? That it's kind of the community that's built, and so we'll hear a couple from these. The first one is from Josh, who was featured in a bunch of our latest videos. He was at the fly-in. I flew down with him and his Cirrus. So Josh is from Pittsburgh, and yeah, so Josh submitted this earlier today, and here's what he had to say.
Hey, it's John. That this year I am very thankful for having found a group of people in aviation who are always willing to learn, always looking for new ways to do better, who are humble enough to admit when they make mistakes and share them with others so that we all learn from them. No one's trying to be top dog in this group. We're all just trying to help each other, and so I'm really thankful for that, and I'm hoping we get some more folks in here. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Awesome, thank you, Josh.
So listen, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist type person, but can you play that one again and just listen to the top? I think he said, "Hey, idiots." I think he's just play it again.
Okay, here we go.
Play it.
Hey, it's Josh. Just wanted to say
Hey, it's Josh. Hey,
Everything else seemed very genuine and heartfelt, but the opening, I just felt like a little. No, that was great, man. That's really, and I love what he said about sort of nobody's trying to be top dog, or anything like that. I guess Josh is the top dog, so of course he's like, I don't see any other top dogs around here.
no, that's awesome.
That is great, man.
That was definitely his, and that definitely came through. That was kind of the vibe, really, at the fly-in. Right, was a lot of that. We talked about that a lot. I had the chance to fly with Ben, the Sage, who's almost 1,000 hours or whatever he's got, and instrument rated and all the stuff that he's done. And we had a couple conversations in the thing. Like I can't help myself but to like say see things and say them or whatever. And we had a big conversation on the way to wherever we were on our way to Smyrna. It was kind of like that's what's you've got to check any of that at the door, any of that kind of attitude that you have about, not it's gets in the way, and it's like anybody can say anything at any time, and we're all still learning because we've all, like Ben's like, if you see something, say it, because it's not like you don't do the same things, and you would want somebody to tell you in cases. And so I think that was kind of one of the cool themes of the fly, and I thought we talked about that a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you sit in there is no hierarchy. It's like we're all just trying to do the same thing. And obviously, uh, a lot of bad things can happen to people with a lot of experience. It's not just about, like, you don't get immunity from the laws of physics, right? So
Exactly.
you got to keep it together mentally, and always be thinking about how many sets of eyes and ears can I possibly have? It's great. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome. So, well, I'll just pitch in one of mine real quick.
Yeah.
Um, which is a little bit sort of aligned with this, but to me, what's interesting, and what I sort of get, and maybe I think other people that are listening have the same experience, but when you're talking, especially to other people that are not pilots, that don't really know anything about aviation, but say they're an old friend of yours or whatever, and they see this difference in you. I knew you before you were a pilot. Now I know you as a pilot, and it's they sense this kind of energy, this vitality or something from you. Um, and so they always ask, friends of mine are always, sort of like, what has this been like for you, or what have you gotten out of it? And it goes so much further than, I can fly a plane now and go places. The number one thing I thought of, that I was explaining to a friend recently, is um, how the discipline of aviation filters into the rest of your life and the other practices or work or other things that you might be doing, and just you as a person. And so for me, I realized that I've become a much better decision maker, about a lot of things. And I think that, not just ADM, risk mitigation, but that's part of it for sure. But it changes how I plan for things and how I flow with changing dynamics and how I make decisions based on those things. And I really want to explore a lot of these things more. But in general, I would say the simplest form is it's made me a better decision maker. And I'm really grateful to aviation and then the community around it to help foster those things that I can then apply in other aspects of my life.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. A lot of good chatter in the
Pull it in.
happening in the comments here. And so, if you're listening to this as an audio podcast, we record these every other Wednesday. So we'd love to have you with us for these live recordings. A ton of great stuff. Just kind of we don't even get to all these on the actual podcast, but there's always such great conversation going on in the chat throughout this podcast. So yeah, I've been tracking some of that. I thought Adam had a really good point a minute ago. He said, "I like Josh. I like Josh identifying humility as an important virtue for pilots. I've turned down instructors who thought they knew it all," and I think that's. I agree completely. I think that's a very, very important virtue.
Yeah. And I like this comment from Bon Ricardo, who I'm also proud that I think I can pronounce his name. Um, yeah, thankful for family, the various communities that I'm a part of, the good earth, and a whole lot of patient, forgiving people around me. And that's definitely, I mean, uh, there's the tertiary things you end up grateful for in
That's right.
aviation. And it's like having people in your life that tolerate you talking about it all the time, taking the risks, spending ridiculous amounts of money. And as we've talked about, I think that was it Ted that said in his interview, what did he say? It was like, what Ted had the best line about this, but he's just sort of like, this is it, you know. Uh, People that can tolerate the sort of such a voluntary pursuit, right? Like it's not a monetary pursuit; it's in fact the opposite.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's a great
Oh, I
comment.
remember the clip, but I can't. I would do it injustice. I can't remember exactly. It was hilarious in the moment, though. Speaking of timestamp Tedder, we had an audio submission from Ted as well that we'll play now and hear what Ted has to say that he's thankful for.
This is Timestamp Tedder, and here's what I'm thankful for in aviation. First are the people from my past that inspired me to start on this path in the first place. Gail Polson, my grandfather who flew, Bernie Jarvis, my grandfather who still wrenches on helicopters, and the other relatives who flew. There was also Mr. Davern, my high school teacher who started an aviation program and invited me to join their airport field trips. Finally, there was especially Corey Morgan, my friend, who flew for Southwest and was literally there for me when I was living alone in a new city when I was younger, and died not long before I started the aviation journey. I'm also thankful to my endlessly patient partner who thought she was signing up for me to take a handful of aviation lessons, but has actually ended up with me either gone flying, home talking about aviation, or in pursuit of purchasing a plane. Flying has made me thankful of where I live and what I've seen from above. I've seen mountains and so many sunsets from the air. And of course, I've met people both local and around the world through this shared obsession. That's what makes it really fun.
Awesome. Very good, Ted. Very
Love it.
nice. Yep.
That was
Thank you
great.
for that. Yep. So I'll throw one off.
You got really loud all of a sudden, Chris.
I did?
Yeah.
I mean,
Like your volume just went up like plus 20 dB.
that's bizarre. Nothing has changed.
Is there a toggle on your mic?
Nope. Nothing. And I'm looking at the audio interface and it is all normal here.
All right.
Weird. I'll turn it down though.
Oh.
It may have also been auto gain controlling for.
Yeah. I think it's starting to sort out.
Yeah, it might have been an auto gain control thing.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's good. It's all good, man. Yeah, Ted, thank you. That was amazing.
yes, solid work, Ted. I'll check one off my list, which is I'm thankful for how it's became like an activity that I can connect with my teenage daughter over. You know, those things are getting fewer and farther between these days, and it's something that she has really become interested in and wants to do all the time, no matter what, you know, the circumstance. If there's a chance to fly, so we've been able to kind of do a lot of that together, and so that, I think that's been a real positive for me.
That is huge. That is huge. Yeah, I mean, those are always, I think, my favorite videos that you release. You know, it's just the whole dynamic between you guys, and also just seeing how she's progressed from sort of, you know, getting weirded out just when the flaps come out, and just how that feels, versus now just having so much knowledge and awareness of what's going on, and actually contributing to the you know, being helpful and
Right.
being totally in the experience. It's just such a neat thing to see her exposure over time, and she's even got trademarked, patented phrases, catchphrases now. So I mean, she's a good one.
The uh-oh maneuver.
That's t-shirt worthy.
It is really. All right, let's I'm going to play this last one. The third audio. These are all, and these, I think all these folks, Josh had to leave early, so he probably missed his, but I know Tedder's here. He's Fly Sport in the chat, and this last one is from One Dull Geek, who made it to the fly-in last spring on the Outer Banks, and was on his way to Nashville for your fly-in, but then had a problem with his airplane and had to turn around and go home. And that was probably the most devastating video of the whole one. I don't know if he shared it publicly or if it was just with us, but there is a moment, he has a video of it when he discovers the problem in flight, and just his reaction of, you could just see the disappointment, you know, that just like took over when he realized he wasn't going to be able to come all the way down there. But so I'm curious. I haven't listened to any of these, so this is the first time I'm hearing these as well. But this is One Dull Geek's submission.
Let's see. What am I thankful for? I guess I'm thankful that I get to participate in something that seems like a fundamental human desire, the ability to fly, to get above everything, and when I do that, to get it both physically out of the way and emotionally out of the way. I'm also thankful that I found a group of similarly minded people who can relate to this.
Yep. That's
Hashtag damn
awesome.
it.
Hashtag damn it. Yeah, that is the video of
I wish that you could pull up that clip because it's so. It, I like it when at least something humorous and impacting can come out of something that is so much of a drag. But when like in the moment that weekend, it was a gut punch to see him having that. But then now it's like, oh, he's got a trademark catchphrase too. This is
yeah.
it's so good. But thank you for that, Mark, aka One Dull Geek. Um, and I that leads me kind of to maybe one of the things I had on my list. I'll get to real quick, which is um, I guess I just kind of on my list I just said airplane therapy and sort of having a transcendent experience or a vehicle for transcendent experiences. I took a friend to fly yesterday, and she had been flying with me only once before, almost a year ago. Um, and I didn't tell her that. Like, by the way, I actually know how to fly now. No, but no, but not just like winging it after the check ride, but no, no, but she's had a lot of things going on in her life, that are, her dog died, and a bunch of other stuff has happened. Just a lot of loss and a lot of change and a lot of things going on, and it was so nice, not only for me to be able to have that experience, but to be able to have the tools or the vehicle to provide that for someone else. And it was such a neat experience because, we flew, I guess it's about an hour and 15 minutes or something, to the place where we were going. And it was one of those things where, 30 minutes into flight, things are kind of settled in. We've got another half an hour to kind of just cruise along and just look in the scenery and everything. And I just kind of realized that we were both just completely spacing out. Like we didn't feel the need to talk or anything. She
Mhm.
was sort of looking out that way. I'm kind of looking out this way. This plane actually flies straight. First plane I've ever been able to rent that actually flies straight. And so I was able to just be hands off and just cruise along and a little rudder nudge here and there and just kind of space out. And I just thought, I feel so much. She was like, I can't believe that you get, like, I feel so much better having just been in this plane for, like, this is the most relaxing thing. And she's like, I can't believe you get to do this all the time. Like, what a great thing. And I'm like, I know. I mean, it really is
Mhm.
a hard thing to express or explain to other people. And there's also the experience of, being by yourself for long periods of time, which is really great too. I mean, when I flew from the Outer Banks, 600 nautical miles and 2 3-hour legs, by myself, that was, I feel like I was a different person by the time I got to the other side of that trip. Um, it's a really transformative, transcendent, really beautiful thing to be able to do, and to be able to just get above the earth and everybody else is in there, are on the earth doing all these things, and you don't have to be a part of it for a period of time, and you can just soar above everything. It's a magical thing. So I'm really grateful to be able to have that kind of
Yeah.
airplane therapy.
Yeah, that's great. So on my list, I would say this is my last one, but and I'm blown away and incredibly grateful for the community that we've built. And it's beyond just I started, filming my lessons, and then suddenly there's like 6,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel and 30 patrons, and just even the smaller group, like this group that's faithfully here on a Wednesday night to like take part in what we're doing and come to fly-ins and like meet up and share, similar struggles and the things that, like, there aren't a whole lot of people that really understand, a lot of these things that we kind of go through, especially not just the aviation component, but like the stage of life that we're in. It's just such a unique um, group of people that was not anywhere in the stratosphere of my radar when I started filming my lessons in 2018. Like, that was none of this was it wasn't even in the, I would have, you could have asked me, I would have never come up with it. Um, but it is legitimately the favorite part of the outcome of the whole flying and midlife thing is this group that we have that is naturally kind of formed around what we're
Absolutely.
doing. And so these are friends now. Like, these aren't just like, I mean, we've definitely made some like legit friends now, and that's hard to do. That's hard to do at this stage, at this age of life as well. We talked about that, Brian, at your house, you
Mhm.
know, in Nashville. Like it's hard to do, but it's yeah, it's been super meaningful and super rewarding, and I'm just so glad to have met everyone and have talked to so many people just about this. And I just hope, like somebody said earlier on their thing, Josh mentioned in his recording, like I just hope it continues to grow and we make more friends and just you know, have a chance to hear each other's stories, you know, more people's stories, and connect and keep this thing going.
Absolutely. Well, you had some maybe subconscious inkling because you did name your YouTube channel Midlife Pilot, which is a pretty succinct, dead on assessment.
It's funny how that works out. It's, I guess it's how I thought of myself, like, you know, when you had to name the thing. Um, but it was I'm glad I did. It's pretty catchy. I'm really I'm glad that I grabbed that up when I did, because it's I think it's pretty good.
Well, I mean, it's to the point and it's actually what's going on and you know, it's definitely a particular, you know, it's not I mean maybe people that play golf or something have a certain level of obsession with it, but it's not like this, man. Like people that are in this, it's a daily, it's something you think about every day. You know, you're learning something every day, you're researching something every day, you're, you know, getting current, you're staying on top. It's something that you have to manage and give attention to. We don't, I guess you don't have to, but you know, we're all compelled to do that. So we all had this huge proportion of our existences that precedes all this, where that
That's
was
right.
not taking up our bandwidth, time, or anything else. And then now here we all are, you know, and this is, you know, it's like some of the first things you think about every day, you know, and what's the weather and what's the next thing to do or planning a trip or whatever. It's such a cool thing. So I guess maybe that the last thing I'll put out there is just to say that I'm just sort of grateful for this being a vehicle as an opportunity to for growth and, you know, not just as a person but just to have, you know, I think that at this age you kind of either start to check out you know, and just only live where you're comfortable and only do things that you're comfortable with, and you kind of recede back into that, which is totally viable and totally fine. But I think that it says something about our, you know, maybe comment about how we look at our lives and our life force and what we want to contribute or gain or experience, to be tripling down on existence in this way at this stage. To do this is a very purposeful, meaningful thing, and it has to be because it's risky. It's, you know, it's expensive. It's a lot of things. So, you know, the fact that everybody's kind of uh, at the same time going, you know what, we're all going to jump into this thing. We don't have to do it, and we're choosing to do it, and it's a heavy everyday kind of a thing, and it's so fun, and it leads to all these other great things. So yeah, so cool, man.
Yep,
Grateful for a lot.
for sure. All right. Well, I say we wrap early tonight. It's Thanksgiving Eve. I know folks have family stuff to do, and I'm out of town visiting my in-laws here in Huntsville this weekend, so I'm going to go
Yeah.
get back to them. But we definitely did not want to miss tonight and a chance to kind of celebrate with this family, with the aviation community that we've kind of built. And I hope everyone has a just a splendid Thanksgiving. We all definitely have a lot to be thankful for. You all are on my list for sure, and especially you, Brian.
Hey,
Uh,
man. Yeah.
I
Appreciate you, my friend.
hope to see you on Saturday on our way home. We're trying to hook up a breakfast visit with you guys on the way back. So
Well, I'll give you directions right to the heart of Music Row.
I know how to get there
No,
now.
you know where my house is.
Right.
But yeah, man, hopefully you guys can make it through. Thanks for everybody in the chat. And for those who contributed, that's really great messages. And we want to find more ways to sort of connect with people and include people. So if you have any thoughts, ideas, or whatever, you know, leave reviews or drop us a note or be in touch or do all the things.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
it was great potting with you, and